Welcome back, guys, to the first episode of our Marked series, the first official episode. Welcome if it is your first time on this YouTube channel. I pray that the series would bless you. So let's get right into it. This week we are speaking on a mind marked by God. A mind marked by God. We will be going through a list of things that should reflect a mind that is marked by God. The first thing on our list today is trusting in God alone. A mind that is marked by God should trust in God and God alone. No other options. Isaiah 26 verse 3 tells us, "You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts you." So we know that if our mind is being swayed by different things, we're putting our trust in the things of the world and the things that are not eternal and the things that will eventually fail us. That does not reflect a mind that is marked by God. But a mind that is marked by God is firstly a mind that trusts in God and God alone, not in other systems or structures or other individuals or other sources, but in God and God alone. The second is that a mind that is marked by God is a mind with disciplined thoughts. According to 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5, the word of God says that we cast down every argument and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. We know that our mind is a battlefield. Our mind is a playground where the enemy can the first way that the enemy comes to bring somebody into bondage, to lead somebody astray, to lead somebody out of the principles and out of the path that God has purpose for them, is by first bringing ideas to your thoughts, by first coming to whisper into your mind thoughts that are not aligned with the will of God for your life. So the first thing we do when we discipline our thoughts, we know that our mind is a mind that is marked by God, because we discipline our thoughts to be subjected to the word of God. We discipline our thoughts to not be aligned to what the enemy says, to what the world says, and we test our thoughts to the word of God. When we think of something, before we act on that thought, does it reflect the will of God? Does it reflect the word of God? And does it reflect the desires of God for our lives? The third thing is a mind that is marked by God is a mind that is heaven bound. According to Colossians 3 verse 2, the word says, "Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things." So we know that a mind marked by God is a mind that is heavenly bound. We look above to everything that we do. We look to heaven and everything that we think. Before we act on it in our mind, we set them on the things that are above. We set them on the things that pleases and honors God. The fourth thing is a mind that is marked by God is single-minded, is a mind that is doubtless. According to James 1 verse 6 to 8, it says the loyalty, verse 8 specifically says our loyalty is divided between God and the world, and a mind that is doubtful, a mind that is double-minded, is a mind that is unstable in everything that they do. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So it's almost like you are serving multiple masters in your mind. You're serving God, and at the same time you're serving the world, and you're serving idols, and you're serving money, and you're serving your job, you're serving your family, you're serving your husband, your wife, whatever it is that takes precedence, that basically resists the will of God in your life and the things that God has said you. So a mind that is marked by God is a single-minded individual who fix their eyes on God and God alone. We are not turning left or right for what else is around us, but we are serving one master. We fix our eyes up on one master. The fifth thing is a mind that is marked by God is a mind that meditates, that watches its meditations. In Philippians 4 verse 8, the meditations is where our minds dwell. The focus of our mind must continuously, it must continuously seek to reflect God and his spirit. Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, things that are just, pure, lovely, good, the things that are of good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Things that we meditate on is the thought comes to you and you're like, you dwell on it, you think on it, you like, how you try to understand it, you try to align yourself with it. When we meditate on things, we're trying to become one with that thing. We're trying to when we meditate on something, it penetrates our spirit, it penetrates our souls, it penetrates every area of us, because we're literally sitting down, dwelling under that word, under that thought, and allowing it to activate something inside of us. So it's saying, whatever you meditate on, make sure that it is pure, make sure that it is praiseworthy, make sure that if you were meditating on that thought and Jesus walked in while you were meditating on it, you would not startle and you would not start saying, I'm sorry, basically, make sure that whatever we meditate on, whatever we dwell and focus our minds on, reflects the heart of God and reflects the spirit, the pure and the true spirit of God. Number 6, a mind that is marked by God is a mind that is renewed. In Romans 12 verse 2, the word says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Those are not separate, but those are one. That means the will of God must be good, it must be pleasing, and it must be perfect. Within one is one will. So we must always renew our minds, to align our minds, transform every day to the will of God. Renew our minds to be transformed to the will of God. The will of God, which is good, pleasing, and perfect, is simultaneously all of that at once. The perfect will of God is that which is also good in his eyes and pleasing to him. Our minds must be aligned with his will every day in order to be aware of what he wants us to do, where he wants you to go. A mind that is marked by God is renewed to know, okay, should I go this direction? Okay, it aligns with the will of God. This is good, this is pleasing, and this is perfect in the eyes of God, so I can go this way. All together, when we think of a mind that is marked by God, a mind that is marked by God is a mind that reflects the mind of Jesus Christ. When we look at our minds, and this is something, it's not easy to do, it's every day you wake up, you fight for your mind to resemble the mind of Christ. Every day, every hour, every minute, every second, everything that your eyes and your ears and everything is exposed to, every thought that goes through your mind, you fight through it to make sure that you are fighting, you are doing your part to ensure that your mind is a mind that reflects the mind of Christ. So we must seek, we must desire, we must fight for our minds to reflect the mind of Christ in our thoughts, in our meditations day and night, in trusting God alone, and focusing our minds towards heaven, and submitting to the will of God, submitting our minds to the will of God. Those who belong to God, we have the mind of Christ. We must fight to have the mind of Christ, because listen, once again I said, your mind is where the enemy is going to try to distract you. If the enemy wants to bring distraction, wants to bring confusion, wants to bring accusations, wants to distort your identity, he's coming for your mind. The mind, he is coming for your mind. So this is where we have to fight for our mind to reflect the mind of Christ. That way we can know we are living every day seeking that our minds would be marked by God. we, those who belong to God, we sustain our minds in the things of God by repeating over and over again the things I've mentioned in this in previously. We do our best, we repeat them, we meditate on the things of God, we speak the words of God, we think the words of God. When doubt wants to penetrate our minds, we say, no, I'm focusing on God, I'm believing in God. When a negative idea, a negative thought to lead you astray, to lead you into the path of darkness comes, you say, no, I'm fixing my head above, I'm fixing my head on heaven. We do what is necessary over and over again, that our mind may reflect Christ, that our mind may continue to be marked by God. I pray that this would bless you. You would receive every word. You would receive every word. You would let it penetrate your spirit. Let it enter into your mind. You would become aware that your mind, this is the place, this is your battlefield, and you got to protect your battlefield. I know that in the past season, my mind has been the thing where the enemy has truly come for. It's easy to be aware of the warfares that comes in the form of sickness, and that comes, against your finances, that comes in the midnight hour when the enemy might come in your dreams and, something tries to choke you. It's easy to detect those warfares and to stand up and fight against them. But the battlefield, the warfare of the mind is something you must be intentional about. You must be intentional about to recognize when it comes, so that you can fight against it. And that we do once again by submitting our mind, submitting our thoughts, submitting the meditations of our minds, so that we can reflect Christ. I pray that this blesses you. I will see you in the next episode of being marked by God, in which we will be speaking on a body, and I'm speaking physical body marked by God. God bless you guys. Mwah.